this weekend. On Friday, I went to the rifle range, and I shot my new Henry rifle, which I just love. I have a 44 Henry rifle, and just got it, and couldn't wait to fire it. Couldn't find any ammunition anywhere. Couldn't find any ammunition anyplace. Talked to the guy at the rifle range, and I'm like, "Don't have any?" He said, "Glenn, I have stocked up for 2 years, and everybody said I was nuts. But I saw what happened when he was first elected, and he said I knew what would happen if he won a second term." And he said, "I've stocked up for 2 years." He said, "I have almost nothing left now." He said, "and I have to watch it because people will come in here and they'll buy it in bulk. It's all going to the black market. If anybody tries to buy anything in bulk, it's going in the black market because you can get 2 and 3 times the amount for ammunition now. If you have it, you can charge 2 to 3 times the amount." He said, "Wholesalers are going out of business. Here it is, the biggest boom for sales, and they can't get any product. They can't get the guns. They can't get the ammunition. Go to Cheaper Than Dirt. I was just looking for some ammunition in the break. Go to Cheaper Than Dirt. I can't find any 9mm. I can't find any 357s. I found one box. Here's 44 Remington Magnum. Yeah, I find 2 boxes out of a full page that they still have stock. I mean, it's crazy what's happening. And the media is not covering gas prices. Why should they cover gas prices? They don't drive. They're all in New York. They don't drive. They don't care. It's part of their agenda. They only care when it's a Republican in office. They don't actually care about your gas price. They never have. Why are they talking about that? Why are they talking about your energy prices? Because it doesn't fit their agenda. They're not talking about the run on ammunition. And it's not just a run on ammunition because everybody's going out and buying bullets. It's a run on ammunition because the president and his administration is causing it. Because they're buying, what was it, 1.5 billion rounds? Did you know that over the weekend it was announced that Department of Homeland Security just bought, where is that story? This is an incredible story. They just bought 2,700 mine-resistant, armor-protected vehicles for here? Why do they need 2,700 mine-resistant vehicles for the United States of America? Department of Homeland Security. Why do they need that? They know something I don't know. I wish they would fill us in on that. Do we have a problem with landmines around the country? What
Iowa is mining their border right now.
Iowa is? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is really strange. Mm-hmm. See, I would think that would be one of those things we could cut. Sick of the Nebraskans coming across. Sick and tired of Nebraskans. Really?
Yeah.
Didn't realize that old feud is back.
That old hatred has resurfaced.
Who knew?
Well,
who knew?
Not that many people.
Well, that's another reason you need the Blaze, because you'll get that Nebraskan Iowan feud news.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
Where's the media asking the question, well, why does the Department of Homeland Security need 2,700 armored vehicles? What is the airport getting that dicey? Is that what's happening here? Because what's happening? Apparently so. We're looking into the ammunition thing, and we're doing the first half of the show tonight at 5:00 on guns and ammo, and what is available and what isn't, and why. Because there's a black market thing that is going on now that is putting wholesalers, going to put a lot of wholesalers out of business. And if it actually makes it to the shelf of Walmart, you don't think the guy at Walmart is calling his friends and saying, "Hey, man, we just got a shipment of ammo and it goes on the shelves today." You don't think that's happening? Whether it's for the black market or it's just a bunch of his hunting buddies, because you can't get it anywhere. I've never picked up my own brass. I've always swept it up afterwards and put it in the recycling bin for somebody else to reload. But I've never picked up my own brass. I picked up my own brass. So put it all in my pockets, put it all in a bag, and went home with it. I'm gonna reload it because you can't get brass anymore. Remember when we were in Cabela's, Pat? We were in Cabela's. You bought a new AK, and
AR-15, yeah.
Okay, so you bought a new AR-15, and Pat's like, I just want to look at him, I want to handle him, blah blah blah. So he goes down. You've never owned a gun before,
no.
And I said at the time, got to get primers. You can't get. It's hard to get gunpowder now. It's hard to get primers now. It's hard to get the brass now. You're not going to be able to even they don't have to regulate ammunition, make it impossible to get the bullets. And everybody was saying, hey, you know what? Look at Homeland Security. They're preparing for war. They're going to shoot us all in the head. Well, that's a possibility, but I think it's more of a possibility that they're creating a shortage of ammunition because the government can just store it and they know or have war at some point with somebody to store it. And so you can't buy it.
And they've been buying a lot. They just bought 1.6 billion more bullets.
That's just the
last
Department.
week.
That's just the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Why do you need that? Because now you've got 3 billion bullets.
Why don't they just get double-barreled shotguns and just have the 2 rounds in each?
That's all they need.
And all they'd have to do is go out on a porch and fire it off. No bad guy's going to mess with that.
If we just built a porch on the edge of our oceans, we wouldn't need a Coast Guard.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. About time somebody
Why don't
said
we
it.
just
Thank you
for
we don't
saying
need an
that.
Air Force either.
No.
Who needs an Air Force? What are you going to do with that? How many people do you need to kill?
Thank you.
I mean, how many bad guys can all come across the border at once? Not that many.
Nah, 2 or 3, maybe.
Maybe.
Now let me give you
Might
another
have a double barrel, by the way.
Let me give you another way to look at the news. So we're looking at the news and we're seeing about how they are going to regulate things. First of all, you're looking at the news out of Colorado and you're saying Colorado looks pretty bad, right? Colorado, they're starting to regulate shotguns. Not, out of control, some sort of, Arnold Schwarzenegger shotgun with a big barrel of shells underneath. No, just regular shotgun that you might have. Regulating them now and banning them in Colorado. Why is that happening? Why has anybody asked, why is Colorado the leader of all of this gun regulation besides New York? Why? Because they have New York. And then they are looking at the other end of the spectrum and they're saying Colorado, and they're putting the pressure on the politicians in Colorado, the White House is, to get them to pass all of this stuff because they know if they pass it in Colorado, they'll say even the citizens in a gun state like Colorado, no, you don't need a pump shotgun. You don't? Really? All we need is a double barrel shotgun. That's all we need. First of all, Second Amendment isn't about hunting, but that's what they're doing because most of the country is terrified of guns. They don't understand guns. Look at, I want to show you this. This is an original document from the National Rifle Association. It's not even in their archives. In fact, I told them that I had this and they were like, you what? What? Huh? This is the National Rifle Association. This is a certificate of membership. And it says this person is in a member in good order, and it is signed. I don't know if you can see it here because there's just so much glare on it. I'm trying to get it. So there it is. It's signed right there by Ulysses S. Grant, president of the National Rifle Association. Now, why is U.S. Grant president of the National Rifle Association? Because the National Rifle Association was started by 2 Union generals. That's why. And why was it started by 2 Union generals? Because what was going on with Reconstruction with the South? And they knew they needed to get people to understand the Second Amendment, and they needed to get people trained with guns because of the oppression that was happening in the South. Now think of that. Who's killing here in America? Where are most of the gun murders happening? They're happening in the inner city. Where are the strictest gun control laws? In the inner city, right? Who lives in the inner city? Mainly minorities, the poor. So they're living in these drug infested neighborhoods with no way to protect themselves. This is exactly what was happening with Reconstruction and the KKK. It wasn't the drug dealers. It was the KKK. And during Reconstruction, the white man in the South was saying, yeah, you guys can't have any guns. So they weren't able to defend themselves. The National Rifle Association is important, has been important for a long time. When you see the signature of Ulysses S. Grant, the greatest Union general, the one that won the war, when you see his signature on a membership card, he hand signed it. And it says president of the National Rifle Association. That's not president of the United States. That's the president of the NRA because his buddies started it to make sure you could go after the KKK. The same thing is happening. It's just not the KKK. Minorities are the ones who are going to be hit the hardest on this because what do you really think? Go ask anybody in these drug neighborhoods. Go ask them if they're living there. Really, is gun control going to stop this? Are these guys, are they buying their guns, legally and they're filling out all the paperwork? Do you think they're doing that? You think you could stop, this is the progressive way. They really thought they could stop people from drinking with prohibition because it's the right thing to do. People hurt themselves. People get drunk and it's bad. And so they make it illegal to have alcohol. And they think they can stop people from drinking. And so what happened? People were making it in stills in the woods. People were getting it across the borders and smuggling it in. And what happened then? Illegal went through. Illegal booze starts coming through the border. All of a sudden, you have these giant mobsters like Al Capone. What do you think Al Capone was funded on? He was funded by illegal booze. That's what he was funded with because people couldn't get it, so he could charge an arm and a leg. It makes the crime syndicate go through the roof. The same thing with the drug war. The drug war is doing nothing, gang, nothing, except make these guys a buttload of money. The same thing that happened with alcohol. We have to start realizing these connections. And they think they're going to wipe out gun crime. They're only going to make it much, much worse because there's always somebody that will provide that gun. And how many legal Americans who live in a tough neighborhood, who know that it's not about the government to them, who live in a tough spot, will then do business with somebody they know they would never do business with because they fear for their children's lives. Let me ask you something. If they make guns illegal, and you happen to fear for your life, if your daughter fears because somebody is stalking her and you can't buy a gun, let me ask you a question. Will you at least consider going to a nefarious underworld type to buy a gun to protect your child? I don't think there's a dad within the sound of my voice that wouldn't at least consider it, especially when you've grown up in a country where you know that right to defend yourself comes from God. Pat brought up a good question. Why is Department of Homeland Security purchasing 2,700 armored vehicles that are armored for landmines? Do we have a problem? I don't know because, I drive to the airport, but I don't off-road to the airport. Do we have landmines around the airport that people are planting? Al-Qaeda is why are they buying 2,700 armored vehicles for the Department of Homeland Security?
I don't know.
Give me a guess. Give me a reasonable guess.
They're tanks?
Yeah, they're light armored tanks.
Yeah, light armored tanks. Department of Homeland Security. Help me out. Give me one.
I don't know enough about it.
And this is right after their purchase
tanks.
They're
light armored tanks. You know what they look like.
I know what they look like, but I don't know whatever, I can't think of why.
What would the Department of Homeland Security, what are they? They're not border security. That would be the border patrol. And God forbid they'd ever buy anything like that.
You don't want that at the border.
The border.
The
border isn't violent at all.
We don't want to militarize our border. Remember those calls?
Militarize the border.
Right. There is no reason to have those at the border. The border is fine. The
safer than it's ever been.
Ever. So what is it that seriously, why is Department of Homeland Security buying that? Is the airport that out of control? Because if it is,